Last week, Charlotte Stewart mentioned a pin that she wore at the funeral scene that was sort of an expression of her character. It was a smiley face that showed that she was continuously optimistic. I'm curious if there's anything from your performances that are sort of like your something that we might have overlooked that you guys feel expresses your character. Some small detail that you guys brought. It's okay. It's okay if there's nothing.
I didn't have to. I had the headdress. So that was what I brought.
I never had that affliction, but I do to this day think about agoraphobia when I contemplate it a little bit more than ever when I'm about to get on a freeway. It seems that it's a logical thing to do, not to want to leave your house to get on a freeway. But no, I can't think of a thing that a pin she had.
Well, I mean, she was saying that was something that reflects sort of her personality, the character's personality. I'm curious, in Harold's home, if there were things that you felt really rooted that character for you.
Well, Richard could speak to that because it was, that it was so fully lived in by the time I got there. So it made my job, like a ride in a rolls. You just get in there and you feel it. And so now, I guess that's one thing, the orchid. When I see an orchid, I take me back to Mr. Smith and those days, for sure.
Actually, the Harold's house reminds me of an interesting set design thing because he's got those double doors so that they run out together. I mean, tell us a little bit about creating that space, knowing that it could be used dramatically.
When was this? I don't remember.
That was on stage, right?
Was it?
Yeah.
On stage?
Yeah, it was on stage.
Huh? Encino. Then
This is on the way to the set was on the way to the airport, right?
yeah.
The stages. Were
It
those
was on the stages, yeah.
hangars?
Those were just warehouses.
Warehouses.
Well, the detail of that, I'm not sure I can remember, but what the designer will do and ought to do is, in any set, is really understand the character and fill it up and create a backstory if one isn't evident, and then work with the director to try to find moments like that will work. And I happen to think that Twin Peaks is very funny and filled with wonderful characters, some who are have agendas which are doubtful, but thank the Lord for that in a way. It's very, 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 to me, hilarious sometimes when I watch it now, and I took it so seriously. Oh my God! I remember I went, speaking of set design, I was flown to London to speak on a Twin Peaks thing, and I came in jet lagged, and they asked me, what did it mean? What did it mean, the wood? And I went, it means whatever you think you saw. And that's what it was. I mean, and sometimes there were, we didn't really know it. We just did it.
Carl, without giving too much away, can you tell us a little bit about being on the set of the Red Room at the end, and what the process was of learning that dialogue backwards?
Yeah. There's no other movie that I've been involved with that I don't have any anecdotes for any other movie but Twin Peaks, and Twin Peaks I have many. So this was the last episode, I guess, yeah. And you didn't really have a sense that there was a script. And it was also pretty clear that nobody who was on the set, nobody of the crew knew what was happening. So after every shot, the whole crew would kind of herd around David's chair and ask, what's next? And there was also this mysterious gentleman who had a beautifully made handcrafted wooden case, and it was filled with colored contact lenses, and he would walk, so everybody was waiting because we didn't know what we were going to do, and he would walk around and look us in the eye, and then look at his case of contact lenses and then walk on. And so yeah, it was pretty unique. Oh yeah, and also there were two producers who came from France, I think, and they handed David Lynch a check, which I think was for several $1 million. And half an hour later, David couldn't find the check anymore. So it was a pretty unique experience. Mike Anderson was the expert at talking backwards, and which is an important part of this scene. And so he was our guide in that respect. He could say everything instantly backwards, so you could throw a sentence at him and he would turn it around and say it backwards.
Now, this is one thing I've been trying to figure out. So it's all shot, it's like literally shot and then reversed, right? So how does that affect physical performance?
No, we actually had to, it was more complicated than that. We had to learn it backwards, and then it was played forward.
They had to perform. You had to perform. You had to perform it backwards.
Yeah.
And do all the performance backwards. And we filmed it, and then we reversed it, and it played forward.
Yeah.
Bobby, we were talking a bit about the scene that didn't get made for the film. I'm curious what that scene was going to be.
Yeah, Gregg, what the hell?
I think Mr. Fienberg should take that question.
Gosh, I don't remember. I remember I had the script, and Johnny was someplace in there, and then I was filled with anticipation. My bags were packed.
We're talking the movie now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I honestly don't.
It was, I mean, the problem with the movie was, the script was so long that, I mean, the first cut of it was 5 hours long. So we couldn't, absolutely 5 hours long, a little over. And we couldn't shoot everything that he wanted to do. And you were the first one you said you just could look at. I felt we're actually still good friends too. No, I don't remember what it was actually. I just remember it was David, we're going to be shooting for 27 years and we're doing all this. So, yeah.
But one of the great satisfactions of the film is that you get to see Laura and Harold together. So can you guys talk a little bit about developing that relationship?
I honestly don't remember. I mean, the film was a prequel, right? So that's, you probably recall more than I do.
Well, you're sort of inventing backwards, aren't you? And that's always a fun challenge. And by that time, Cheryl and I were good friends, and so you're sort of thrown into that arena together. And David gave you such unspoken permission to walk a high wire and he would catch you. And so that's very liberating. And Cheryl was so awesomely brave. It still blows my mind how brave she was and is. And so kudos.
Yeah, during the movie, Cheryl, we literally had to shut down at one point because she had gone so far that she couldn't go anymore. And we didn't have anything else to shoot, so we had to stop for a couple of days because she was so exhausted. But David is just, in terms of directors, and I've worked with a lot of them, there's nobody like him. He brings out in actors things you can't imagine.
Sure.
The nicest guy in the world runs this most fun set you could ever be on, and somehow you guys just, whatever it is that, the director-actor relationship, it was unbelievable to watch. And the movie was a little bit improvisational in a way. He was making things up as he went along. I remember we had this launch dinner somewhere up, we were in Seattle, and David Bowie was in one of the first things we shot, so he was there, and he had come in. And I remember him saying, David, I just want to ask you, I've read the script, and I really can't figure out what my character's doing. Can you explain it? And all the actors, everybody leaned in, like, okay, we're going to find out what it is now. David he just went, well, David, no, I can't. And we all continued eating our dinner. It was unbelievable, but it was, some crazy times.
Well, let's talk about Cheryl being brought into the series because first of all, that's creating another character that is not in the pilot, and I'm sure you have some very interesting backstory on that as well. But deciding that this actress who is very briefly in the pilot then becomes a major character for a while in the series, and then of course has a whole film built around her. How intense was that casting process to find her, not knowing necessarily how much she was going to get used down the line?
Well, for my part,
Yeah, that's on.
when we were going through the process of the whole series in the beginning, I remember very concernedly talking to Mark, because we used to do a lot of collaborating and such, and I told him, I said, can we write another part for Cheryl Lee and bring her back? And Mark just looked at me and said, Paula, she plays the dead girl. And I said, yes, but we could do something like the Look-alike Twins, like the Patty Duke show, and bring her back. And he was a little taken aback, but he thought about it and then came back with the character Maddie. And what was weird about it is other people were noticing, they were like, she kind of looks like you, Paula. I mean, she's got dark hair, the same kind of glasses. I was like, oh my God. And I did get some kudos being named as Ben Horne's secretary and stuff, but that was just, they used to let us collaborate like that. And so I just thought it was really cool that they would do something like that and bring another twin type of thing, in there. That was great. I thought it was great to bring such a terrific actor, and Carol Lee does a great job.